Doki Doki Literature Club is a kind of hard to describe game. It it's a game that originally went big in 2017, 2018-ish. But recently with the release of the Plus edition, I finally got the chance to play it because, well, I don't have no PC to play games on. I'm not spending that money. Like, it's easier to buy a Switch that I'll use for 5 years for like $300 than spend like $1,000 on a PC. But yeah, finally got the chance to play it recently, and its side stories, so I'll be talking about those here too. But yeah, let's get into it, I guess. So, Doki Doki Literature Club, I'd say, is and this is the general definition of it, that's the only reason I'm saying it's this, is a psychological horror visual novel disguised as a dating visual novel. So basically the only thing that's right in the advertising is it's a visual novel. So basically it's not a game, really, besides a couple of decisions here and there. But yeah, Doki Doki Literature Club is really good. I think it's great. So, what I'd say mainly is that the unexpectedness is definitely a big factor in this game. It's the way it twists and turns is the biggest part of this game. And I love that. I love the twists and turns of this game. I love how it's done. I love a lot of different parts of how it's done in this game. From the simple fourth wall breaks that are kind of hidden and foreshadow things, but you wouldn't really think of at the moment, to the big moments like the ending of the game. I think they work really well. So, let's talk about each of the girls first. Monica is who a lot of people consider the main threatening force of this game. I don't really want to say antagonist because there's not too much of an antagonist in this game by the traditional sense of the word. Because, I mean, your character is basically a horny bitch who joins this literature club because there's girls in it. So I wouldn't really say that one of the girls wanting your character, or you, I guess technically is how it's put in the game, is exactly antagonistic. I just say they're the threatening force because, well, they get the three others to kill themselves and then delete them. But yeah, I don't know how to describe Monica necessarily. Because she's not a good person, but she's not really a bad person either. So, I don't know. I don't know how I'd consider that. But, yeah. Monica is the main threatening force of this game. Because, like I said, she kills and deletes all the other characters of the literature club. But her character's a little more in depth than that. Because some people would consider her bad. But as she says after she does all this stuff, she's kind of stuck on the sidelines throughout the game as a side character because she's not one of the love interests or whatever, you know? So she does all this to end up with the player or whatever. So basically, yeah, it's a little complicated, but I don't think she's obviously not a good person. She's a bad person, yeah. But I think you can, yeah, I don't know how to I don't know how to say it without sounding like a psychopath, basically. But I think in her personal mind it's justified, and I don't think she fits the overall antagonist basic idea, if you get what I'm saying. Yeah, it's a little hard to describe. So when you first start the game, Sayori is the only character your character really knows out of the literature club, because your character and Sayori had been friends since they were kids, like little kids, I think. So Sayori is one of the ones you get to have more development with, and when I played the game in Act 1, she was the main one I went for, because Sayori is probably my favorite of the 3 optional characters, you know? So Sayori is an interesting character, to say the least. So she seems all bright and quirky and stuff when you're going, you know, throughout the game. But then when you get to a good chunk of the way through Act 1, you see the more depressing side of her, where she really just wants to make everyone else happy, but at the same time it causes her pain, so she doesn't know what to do, because she doesn't want anyone else to feel bad for her, so she gets them to care for other people. Then she also gets sad when she sees these people not care anymore, but she also gets sad when they care for her, so it's kind of this interesting idea. But yeah, she's one of the more interesting ones in my opinion. She has more character than I think Yuri or Natsuki do, but I guess that's kind of because I chose her arc over Yuri and Natsuki's arcs, so. But yeah, Sayori's one of the ones I liked more before she did the thing at the end of Act 1. Yuri and Natsuki I probably won't talk about as long as I talked about the other two, since I don't know as much about them, but Yuri is a more shy character than the other 3. She's less talkative than all that, and she's decent, I guess. I like the way she turns out specifically, and I like how it goes in Act 2, where she's more obsessive and she's more more obsessive, more just protective and possessive than in the first act. And I like her character, how it's done, and in the second act how it's intensified. Yeah, I liked Yuri. So Natsuki is kind of the more critical one. The more critical one of the 4. She's a lot more hesitant and a lot less lenient than the other 3 are. And so that's the main way she's way different. And she also likes manga, which is I don't get why that's that special. I guess because they're in a literature club, and manga, blah 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 blah. I don't give a shit. If you can read, it's literature. I don't care. The side stories aren't really necessarily too similar to the main story in a lot of ways. They don't have that horror element. They don't have that fourth wall breaking, and they don't have the love thing. But I still really liked the side stories. I feel like it really builds the character. Where I didn't really like Yuri or Natsuki in the main story, I did like them in the side stories. I thought they were really interesting. I thought Natsuki's side story with her friends and stuff, where it was this toxic relationship, was really, really interesting. I thought that it gave her more personality and more depth than she had in the story. Or at least how I played the main story anyway. And Yuri's shyness and stuff is built up a lot more, and how it's a little bit harder for her to connect to people than for Monica or Sayori. And Monica and Sayori's side story, where Sayori's the first one to join the club and then talks about her depression and stuff, all the different topics, depression, self-love, all that is really, really interesting. I loved how they tackled all of these different things. I really loved it. I'm surprised how great the side stories were, considering they didn't even build off of the foundation of the main game. I thought they were, well, they did with the characters, but otherwise they didn't do too much off of it. They didn't use the general story structure or anything, and they still did it great. I love how it's seen in all these different ways, how we get to grow with all these different characters. We get to see Monica before she becomes this psychotic, fourth wall breaking maniac. It's really interesting. I loved it. It's great. It was amazing. I loved the side stories. I liked the main game slightly more, but I still really liked these side stories. I'm glad they were here. So yeah, Doki Doki Literature Club Plus is a great game. I love the way the tension is built up in the first act, and then it's just goes insane in the second and third. For the main campaign, I love how the side stories are more character-based and focused, and I love all the little pictures and stuff, and the music and all that you can unlock by doing these different things in the games. I love that, and I just love almost everything about this experience. I'm glad I picked it up, even if it was a little expensive for originally being a free game. But yeah, I'm glad I picked it up overall. But yeah, thanks for watching this video, I guess. I know this is like 3 years late, but with the new version coming out, I finally got a chance to play it, and I wanted to make a video on it, so yeah, here we are. But yeah, thanks for watching, if you're watching this. Anyway, see y'all later.